always tells me that you talk too much, and I would say now I've been preparing for this moment my whole life, because those of you who do know me know that I will talk to you forever about anything. So it doesn't matter that we don't have a slideshow, because there's a million things that we can talk about with stress, right? Everyone agree? Perfect. I do want to start with something.
How about the one with the puppy?
No. You would be proud of me to know that last night I had all this stuff entered into my slideshow, so I didn't have to do anything except press play. Who's seen this? A couple people?
Yes. Love it.
Yeah, right. You'd have had him in a heartbeat.
This isn't you on the bike, Alex. This is probably a fit 20-year-old.
Yes.
I think this is probably either made up or somewhere in Montana, if I had to guess.
And those bears can do about 40.
I'm trying to remember what behind is when I would have reckoned in bears.
Is the bear's mother?
They'd almost rather stop and chase it than get drugged from behind.
Oh. Whoops.
Did he lift it up? Or he's on his feet? Well, the bear's tired.
So that was a gunshot that you just heard right there. And the bear runs away. Okay? Who's seen the movie Office Space? I didn't screen this. I don't know if there's any foul language in this. If there's foul language in this, I'm sorry. Is there?
Hello, Peter. What's happening? We have sort of a problem here. Yeah, you apparently didn't put one of the new cover sheets on your TPS reports. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot. Yeah. You see, we're putting the cover sheets on all TPS reports now before they go out. Did you see the memo about this? Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just forgot. But it's not shipping out till tomorrow, so there's no problem. Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great. And I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay? Yeah, no, I have the memo. I got it. It's right. Hello, Phil.
That's pretty much good. You guys see what's going on right there? So that's his boss, and his boss is a jerk. A big jerk. So I wanted to show you those two. I think we're done with this. I wanted to show you those two videos because something magical is happening right there. So the first scene, the guy's being chased by that grizzly bear, which is obviously going to kill him if he catches him. And the second scene is a guy who goes to work every day. And if you've ever seen the movie, this doesn't stop throughout the entire movie. This guy's boss is constantly hounding him about just the dumbest stuff. Both of those people are going through massive amounts of stress. One is chronic degenerative stress, where the guy hates his job and he hates his boss. The other is life or death stress. Do you see the difference? The important thing to keep in mind and take home is both types of stress that are felt by both of those people are interpreted by the body the exact same way. You guys follow me with this? I'll break it down for you without losing you. I'll break it down really simply. And everyone, of course, deals with one of those two stressors on a normal basis. Hopefully, we're not running from the cheetah or bear every day like we once probably were in this region, right? Dinosaurs, bears, cougars. Now we're not running from the cougars and bears and cheetahs, hopefully not every day anymore, but we're running from other things like stress and getting to work and having to deal with a poor work environment and a boss that you don't like, or kids. So I've been asking people for the past 2 weeks, I've been saying, what's your biggest stressor, so that I make sure that it comes up. There's 2 of them that just over and over and over kept coming up. Number 1, kids. I'm like, man, not even your spouse? As a joke. Kids, number 1. And number 2 was job/financial. There was lots of other ones, but those are the major 2. So I said, well, let's just figure out how we can incorporate that into our class today. Fair? All right. As we're running from a bear, your body has a physiological response that kicks in and turns you into an absolute superhuman, where you can be driving down the road, see a car accident, and somehow one man or one woman can lift a 3,000-pound car off of someone else who's being crushed. You've heard these stories before? Or one guy whose partner has been injured on the battlefield can pick him up, throw him over his shoulder, and run, and oh, by the way, stop and grab another 280-pound guy and throw him on his shoulder and run to safety. Where if I tried to pick up any of you limp right now, I'd be struggling to take 1 step, I'm sure. Because my superhuman strength hasn't kicked in, and that does happen when you're running from a bear or a cheetah. Likewise, as that stress response is stimulated in your system, creating these crazy hormonal releases, so is that guy that's getting yelled at by his boss every single day. And what you and I both know is that eventually what's that guy going to do?
Break.
He's going to snap. And he's either going to deck his boss in the face, or he's going to flip out and say a bunch of stuff and go storming out the door and be like, I quit. It's going to happen. In the old days, they'd go to war and battle each other. But in the new days, we don't have swords any longer. So we have to do other things to express our stress levels, right? Which leads to relationship stress, social stress, financial stress. I was listening to a podcast last week, and I'm talking to the men in the group, but I'm also talking to maybe some of you women. We had a talk about this morning. How really, I'm a guy, so I get guys more, but I'm also sensitive to learning how women function and think, because we all share something similar. Generally speaking, the men want to bring home the woolly mammoth and slay it for their family. And today we're not slaying the woolly mammoth and spearing the buffalo and bringing the hide back so that we can, keep warm for the winter and well fed. It's not happening anymore. So the new battle axe, or the new sword for the man that is the provider, or the woman that's the provider, because lots of women have that role now too, is this. It's money. Right? That's the new bacon. Kind of interesting how it's turned out like that. So that right there, we're not stressing about, when I go out elk hunting for 3 years in a row and I don't bring back an elk, my family's going to live. Where in the past, they weren't going to live and make it through the winter time. And now this is the new battle axe or sword, because if we go out, guys and girls who are the primary breadwinners in the family, and we don't bring home this, we have a problem, you see? So this is the major stressor that I'm identifying with a lot of people. Inside the body, when the person's running from the bear, certain physiological things happen. A huge list of things happen that you really don't need to know, but I want to teach you how stress leads to all of the reasons and problems and challenges that we all suffer from on a regular basis or every day. So when that guy's running from the bear, we'll do this in group. You guys are super smart. Did his breathing go up or down? Okay. It had to go up. Why?
Increase oxygen.
Increase oxygen to get more oxygen to the blood, to give the muscles more oxygen, and to increase blood flow. I'm only going to hit a couple of these on my slide. So oxygen has to go up. When that guy's getting yelled at by his boss, stress goes up, so his oxygen also goes up. Okay? Muscles need to contract because we need to run. Yes? All right? So when the muscles are contracting more, we're requiring more energy. So does anybody know what the energy, the currency of the body is to produce more energy, or how to give the cells energy? What's that called? What was it, Sandy? Glucose. Okay? The body needs to dump glucose or sugars to give fuel to the cell because we need a short burn, not a slow burn, right? I need energy now, so the body dumps a bunch of glucose. So just to keep this simple, if I drew blood from that guy being chased with the bear, I'd have a lot of sugar in my blood. Or 30 seconds later, I'd have very little because he was exercising. Get it? Now, when that guy's getting yelled at by his boss and his stress goes through the roof, if I drew his blood before and after the boss started yelling at him, guess what? More sugar. Okay? Every single time. Was that guy running from that bear, was his body worried about digestion? No. It's not important. It's life or death. Okay? His blood, do you think it got thinner or thicker as he was running from that bear? Any guesses? Thinner? Why?
To be able to travel through faster.
I can understand why you'd think that, because it makes perfect sense that that blood needs to get shipped places. And that's why the vessels, the blood vessels, they constrict and they get tighter so that they can start pumping that blood faster. And I can understand why you all would say that, but actually that blood gets thicker. And here's why. If that bear catches up to him and slashes him in the back, what's his back going to start doing where he got slashed? Bleeding. It's going to start bleeding. When we start bleeding, do we want thinner blood or thicker blood? Thicker. We want thicker blood every single time. This is the physiological response in the body to save your life. Got it? So when you get stressed out, I don't care if your boss is yelling at you, your husband's yelling at you, your wife's yelling at you, your kids are supposed to be home at 10 and now it's 3:30 and they have your new Audi and they're out partying. Or what? If you're stressed out, your blood's getting thicker because the physiological response says increase platelets, because if this gal gets injured, we need to coagulate that blood to keep him alive. See? If you've ever known anyone on blood thinners, if they get cut, it's kind of a serious deal. You get that stuff to stop bleeding. Okay? Are you with me on some of this stuff? I want to work through this process. And the reason I wanted to work through this process is because I think I spelled that right. There's two really interesting responses to stress that probably none of you think about on a regular basis. But I live in this area. People come into my office and they say, Doc, I cannot lose weight. I've tried everything. I've tried diet. I exercise. I actually exercise harder than the person next to me. Because every time I go to the gym, Doc, I'm going to stay on the treadmill longer than the person to my right and left. Because that's how I gauge if I'm doing a good job. I want to sweat harder than they do, and I want to breathe harder than they do, and I want to last longer than them. There's people tell me this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. If that person's going to be half hour, I'm going to be 45 minutes. And they go, and I can't lose weight, Doc. And here's what I know. I ask them, I say, talk to me about what's going on in your life. And in the minute that we have that conversation, it's like I just open up the floodgates. Doc, you wouldn't believe what's going on in my life. My spouse is getting ready to leave me. I got tons of job stress. I might get fired. I hate what I do. My kids, oh my gosh, one of my kids is in rehab right now. I can't lose weight. I know automatically one major factor that's going on in their life is because they're so stressed, their glucose levels are so high, their body's not going to be able to burn the energy like it's required to, and they're constantly going to be in this state of fight or flight where their body's dumping tons and tons and tons of sugar into their system to keep them alive because they're so stressed out. You see the challenge here? This is a really unique situation because this is oftentimes a story that maybe you haven't heard before. And this is the physiological response that's happening in your body that's keeping you alive and at the same time is hurting us for the long term. When I was in India, I was walking around the streets, and I kid you not, one day I was there for several months in one spot. Every single day there were these three guys that would sit under the same tree and literally just stare up at the sky. And I'm just thinking, how can these people actually do that all day long, every day? What are they doing? Well, I guarantee you they had no stress. There's just no possible way. I've never seen that happen. If you do that here, people come up to you like you're weird and they're like, dude, are you okay? You've been laying under this tree for 3 months looking up at the sky. What's the matter with you? Okay? Because of the way that our lives are structured and the chaos and craziness that Sometimes not by choice, but we end up with it. All right? Heart disease. Generally speaking, do you think that people who have thicker blood have more heart disease or difficulties with cardiovascular system? It's harder to move that stuff around. You see where I'm going with this? It's just way harder to move that stuff around. And you all know stress kills people. But maybe you don't know how or why, and I'm teaching you the how or the why.
So, when your blood gets thicker and all that starts happening, would that mean that you have higher blood pressure, or would your blood pressure be lower?
Your blood pressure goes through the roof when you're stressed out because you got to move that blood to get oxygen and sugar to your cells. It's that contraction of the blood vessels in the heart that has to move that blood to give life to your cells. Because you need to get away from the bear. And in this case, you need to get away from that job before it takes you down. And you guys are thinking probably right now, Doc, you're not telling me anything I don't know. But I'm linking this together for you. Because these are two things that people look at me and they say, how the heck can stress lead to heart disease? And how the heck can stress lead to obesity? And I'll tell you, every single time it does. Every single time it does. Okay? Interesting. There's a whole bunch of other things. I just wanted to pick a couple of things out for you that really kind of tied this together. Everyone with me so far? So, Deanna, could you grab one of those scan sheets that have my 16 tips for reducing stress in your system? I'm going to go over a couple really cool ways to reduce stress. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years old or 95 years old, this is going to help you. It's going to help you tremendously. On my slideshow, I showed you some really cool pictures from, thank you, Deanna, from the Journal of Neuroscience, where these doctors put together this really amazing study where they monitored the brain, and I had pictures of this, but it's fine, you'll get the idea. They monitored the brain in a stress state, and then they monitored the brain in a meditative state. You can imagine what the pictures look like. You know what I'm saying? You can imagine what the brain looked like when it was under stress compared to when it was in a meditative state. It was insane. They did the same thing with people who were on drugs, and they did the same thing with people who had obesity, and the same thing with people who had heart conditions, and the stressed brain mimicked all of these things. Right? Because the number one stressor affecting your life is how your body receives and responds to the stress, not the stimulus. Because we can't get away from stress. I mean, I tell people, I'm an expert at this. And every day, I have tons of stress. Agreed? Stress is so important, it actually makes us stronger. So not all stress is bad. Right? You guys in the back, you guys play sports, and, Henry, I've watched you wrestle. And, if you want to get strong, you can only get stronger because you've stressed your system to become stronger. Right? That's why the Olympic athletes go and they train at the Mile High City of Denver, because they train in that environment to increase their oxygen levels in their blood. Right? Doctors have done samples of Sherpas in Nepal. These guys hike up a mountain and they don't stop and they don't take a break. I know that because I walked with one. And I said, there's one speed, it's fast. They go down fast, they go up fast, they don't stop for breaks, they just keep walking. And they blow your mind. Well, they have more oxygen in their blood because of where they train. But if you take a flatlander from Iowa, like my wife, and you take her to Colorado and you ask her to run a marathon, she's going to get her butt whooped by all the people that live there because they've stressed their system enough to give them a positive response of more oxygen carrying capacity of their blood. Get it? So stress is important. But long-term chronic stress, now, will kill you. So I always tell people, don't think of stress as bad. Gravity is a good thing. It's a stress, or else we'd be floating up in the sky. We need gravity. But gravity acting upon us negatively, sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day like this, is going to kill us. Absolutely. We know it's going to kill us. Got it? So not all stress is bad. I wanted to make sure I hit on that. Cool? Now, I'm going to teach you a breathing exercise to decrease your stress. You ready? You have to do this with me so that I know that you're doing it right. And don't spit on the person in front of you. You in the front row. You're safe. I'll step up here. I teach people diaphragmatic breathing. Okay? And diaphragmatic breathing will change your life. Most of us are oxygen deprived as it is because we're not breathing properly. So I'm going to go through a drill with you of diaphragmatic breathing, and I'm going to challenge you all to do it in the morning. And if you work at a place other than your home, do it in your driveway when you pull your car into the driveway at night. Do what I teach you, and it'll change your life. And I'm not making this stuff up. When you walk into the door after you've done this technique, your dog will run to you faster and jump on you harder. Your wife or your husband will look at you, and they'll just know that something's different. Your kids will respond to you differently. I mean, I didn't believe it either, but I do this every day, and it changed my whole world. Okay? When you breathe diaphragmatically, you breathe with your belly. I have a 1-year-old, and my 1-year-old always breathes with her belly. When I put her down on the table to change her diaper, her belly goes up and down. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm watching all of you, and none of your bellies are moving. Your chest is moving. I can't see your bellies back there. Your shoulders are moving. Your chest is moving. We have to breathe like a baby. And when we breathe like a baby, it does something magical to us. The middle part of the spine, this is a picture of the spine. Those are the legs, and these are the arms. The middle part of the spine controls the heart, and it controls the lungs. And if you're breathing from your chest every single time you take a breath, those nerves are just not really firing the way that they should. They're getting irritated because you're breathing like this, and those nerves are always constantly under that stress. Or if you're sitting at a desk all day, those nerves are getting constantly compressed and irritated. So when you breathe with your belly, your chest doesn't move, your shoulders don't move, and those nerves don't get irritated. I've done this. I've tested this on my fancy machine in there. Everyone put your hand on your belly and put your other hand on your chest. Okay? I want you to take a breath, and I want you to take a breath, and I don't want your top hand to move. I want only your bottom hand to move. So I want your bellies moving, not your chest. It's really challenging at first. And then you kind of get in that groove, and you go, I'm a baby again. There we go. I had to make you laugh. Because that's what my baby does. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take the biggest breath you can take without moving your top hand, and I want you to hold it while I count to 5. And when I count to 5, I want you to blow it out as hard as you can, because the blow out is as important as the blow in, the breathe in. Ready? Don't spit on the person in front of you. If you do, it's fine. Big, huge breath in as big as you can. Make your belly move out as wide as you can, and hold. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, when you breathe out this time, I want you to breathe out like this. Do it again. I want to see hair moving. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Much better. When I pull into my driveway, I do that 10 times in a row. What it does is it lowers my blood pressure, decreases my muscular stress across my mid-back. It decreases the activity in my brain, puts me in a meditative state. It gives me a whole bunch more oxygen to feed the cells in my body. It decreases my blood sugar levels because I'm not stressing all of these nerves right here, and I'm not running from anything. And it puts me in a complete state of ease. So the next time you come into my office and you do one of my space age scans where I put your hand in there and I ask you to breathe and I ask you to sit quietly for 3.5 minutes, every single one of you in this room, I want you to breathe like I just taught you. Except don't go crazy with it. Just normal breathing. Put your hand here and your hand here. Close your eyes and breathe nice and easy in your nose, out your mouth, only allowing your belly to move. Watch what happens to your scan score.
But Doc, if you're in the scanner, one of your hands got to be in the scanner. So you can't put both.
You're right. Put the other hand on your belly. You're smart, Alec. I would have expected that out of Alex. Put one hand on your belly and breathe like that. Normal breathing, calm and relaxed, eyes closed, in your mouth, in your nose, out your mouth. Watch what happens to your score. Remember that one score that I tell you that's your stress level? Just watch what happens. It'll be a game changer to you. Okay? Now, There's one or two more things that I want to cover quickly before we leave. Does anyone know about the word biohacking? What do you know about the word biohacking?
It's a Facebook deal.
Bio means life. Hacking means you know what hacking is. So, hacking life. This is a really buzzword right now in healthcare. Biohack. How can I trick my body into giving me more life? That's what it means. Kind of interesting. It's a buzzword. Now that I said it, you're going to see it all over the place. Okay? And I'm teaching you this because I want to show you something, and I want you to leave here knowing that you're in the best place for health on planet Earth. Okay? Your body needs certain things to live. Your body needs food. Ron, how long do you think you could live on without food if you got trapped out in the woods?
10 days.
Who could live longer than that? Regardless, that's a long time.
I like my food.
I bet. Henry, what's your dad like when he doesn't eat?
Cranky.
Monster. Your body needs water. Cindy, how long can you live without water?
3 days?
Yeah, I agree. 3 days. I know we could go longer than 10 because I didn't eat for 5 days earlier this year. We need oxygen. How long can you live without taking a breath?
3 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah. After 7 or 8 minutes, your neural tissue starts to die because your brain needs that oxygen. So 3 to 5 minutes, maybe. See what's happening? A lot, less. And the best biohack to get your body working better than it already is to keep your nerves working the way that they're supposed to. Because your brain is what controls everything in your body. So if we can make sure that there's no kinks in the hoses, we can keep your body working better. All right? And the reason that's so important for you and for me is because that's what we do here. The biggest stressor in your life, I guarantee it, is not the stressor itself, it's how your body's responding to it. Because none of us can leave here and say, oh, Dr. Andrew taught me the key to reducing stress. It's always there. You're going to have stress when you leave here. Some of you are going to go home to financial stress and relationship stress and kid stress and job stress. You're going to go home to it. And that's why I taught you one thing that before you walk in the door, you'll do it. And it'll all seem a little bit more manageable. You're going to go home to it. And all of us are going to have disconnects in our lives where our body is communicating with itself improperly. And if we can reduce the way that our body responds to the stressor, we can biohack the system and we can make your stressors that you can't get away from not seem so stressful. And those of you who are my patients, you know what I'm talking about. It's called an adjustment. So if we can take neurological stress off the system, we can biohack the feedback loop that is causing destruction in your life. And if we can take the kinks out of the hoses, we can have a flow of life that can make the flowers grow. This is a terrible picture. Because if the nerves get cut that go to your heart, what instantly happens? Your heart instantly stops beating. Okay, so we go down through this whole process to what's really most important, what's keeping you alive, and that is your nervous system. Principle number 1 for your health. This is me reading this morning saying, I got to share this with people. Principle number 1 for your health in Dr. Andrew's world. Learn to think for yourself to decide. Fair? Learn to think for yourself to decide. That's pretty challenging at times. When if you know how to turn on a TV or look at a cell phone, someone else is going to decide for you. Yeah. Learn to think for yourself to decide. Number 1, what you want. I had a mom that came in the other day and said, Doc, I don't want my kid vaccinated, and they made me vaccinate my kid. I said, principle number 1, learn for what you want, or learn to decide for yourself what you want. In this case, for your kid. If you wanted that, then we just need to work on learning how to get that. Okay? And then number 2, what is true? All right? A truth is a truth how much of the time?
100%.
All the time. So if someone's trying to tell me something that in my scientific and spiritual and educated brain and innate brain, all of those things, if it is not true and I can't correlate what they're telling me is true 100% of the time, then it's not true. Got it? If someone tells me, do this, I don't know why I'm on this vaccine thing because it started. If someone said, give your kid that, it's impossible that it could hurt them. I have to look at it and I say, that's not true, because that's not true 100% of the time, and I can't get on board with that. You got it? That could have been a good example, or it could have been a bad example. I don't know if you relate to that. Okay, good. It's not true 100% of the time. So think for yourself to decide what you want and what is true and what you should do to achieve number 1 in light of number 2. I mean, this is like the best stress reducer for me, because 90% of the stress that we have, we don't know what we want. We can't figure out like how to decide for ourselves, and we're so reactive because that's our society. And we're in the now moment. It's just a reactive society. And this can just relieve everything for us if we just work through this process in our head. So what my coach, who I love, reviews with me on a regular basis is something really important. And this is why I gave you this card, because we're going to end on this. It's called a gas drill. This is the best way that I've transformed, or the number one way I've transformed my life and how I communicate with all of you and how I leave my house knowing that I have a purpose in life and I'm going to fulfill it and I'm going to serve my mission and I'm going to stay on track. And I really do this every single day. And people are like, are you serious? And Deanna knows, because I leave these cards are like literally everywhere. There's stacks of them all over. They're always in my pocket. You see a business card or a card in my pocket, it's got my gas drill on it. I guarantee it. They're all over. They're all over the house. They're in the garbage can. They're on my dresser. They go through the wash and they come out in these little wads. They're everywhere, because 365 days a year I use one of these things. The G is gratitude. So I'll just read this to you. This is how it goes. On my card, I do this. I write GAS every single morning, and the G is gratitude. I wrote, I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for Indy, my daughter. I'm grateful for my life coach. I'm grateful for my relentless desire to grow as a human. I'm grateful that I got a good night's sleep last night because my daughter wasn't up all night, and I put the puppy in the crate, and I just got a good night's sleep because I needed it. And I'm grateful for good coffee. I don't know. It could be anything. It could be anything. I just want to start out my day with gratitude. All right? So you guys can do this on this card. That's why I gave it to you. A is action. This is where we don't want to get carried away, because I don't want, and I do this sometimes, but I don't need another list, because I have lists all over the place. I don't need a to-do list. I need to make sure that I go to bed knowing that I achieved one thing that's going to make me better. I mean, if you do, someone told me once, Doc, if you just make your bed every morning, you already got a win for the day, which I'm not a bed maker, so I'll get a win somewhere else. Action. I say, try to keep it under 3. Here's my action. I want to read for 20 minutes for myself today, which I haven't done. So if I go to bed and wake up in the morning and didn't do this, I'm going to be thinking about this, and I'm going to be kind of feeling like crap, I didn't do my action step. I'm going to read 3 books to my daughter tonight before she goes to bed, and I'm going to build up my team members individually today. Okay? Did I do that, Alyssa? Yeah. I feel good that I did that, because I meant it. I meant every single thing I said. Now you get to see, gosh, Dr. Andrew had this thing planned.
And she's not just saying that because you put her on the spot, I promise you.
Probably the most important one is a service. So, yes, every single day I think we all should do something for someone else to help them benefit. My service today and I'm giving you my examples, not so that I feel good about myself, so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. My service today was to send a warm, uplifting text to a friend that I haven't talked to in 6 months. That's pretty easy and pretty cool. That's always easy. Teach an uplifting class to my tribe, and give 10 hugs. I always get the 10 hug thing, but today specifically I was counting them off in my head and almost checking them, because they all come from my team of patients, my family. The more hugs you give is directly proportional to the level of happiness that you have in your life. I think someone did a study on that sometime, so I know it. So my big ask of you is I taught you how to biohack your health in a way that probably none of your friends know about. I don't know why, but they just don't. I taught you my first principle for health, and I gave you something really fun to do. And now when you walk out of the office, look to the left, and you'll see an entire year's worth of my gas cards hanging up above my office, my desk. You'll see them. They're all along the wall. And I leave them hanging there to remind people when they ask me, they go, what the heck are those things? That's an opportunity where I get to teach you a way that we're building up our gratitude, building up our service. We're moving towards our goals or where we want to be, and this whole process reduces stress. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, do a gas card. Tonight when you go home, do 10 big diaphragmatic breaths in your car before you walk into your house. And just consider thinking about this principle that I brought to the table for you. That a truth is a truth 100% of the time. And learn to decide and think for yourself for what you want. Otherwise, someone else is going to make the decision for you, and you'll be in that situation where that guy was dealing with his grumpy boss. It's a good class. I feel like we covered a lot. Cool?
Yeah.
Amen. Let there be light. Have a wonderful evening.